what?
The intersection that was dedicated.
Oh, yeah.
Did you
Y'all,
know?
Oh, wow.
let us pray. Dear Lord, we pause at this time, Lord, we're just giving us all the favor you showed. Ask you to bring your favor.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll do a roll call. District 1, Ms. Purcell. Present. 2, Ms. Williams. 3, Mr. McIntyre.
Here.
4, Mr. Brown.
Present.
5, Ms. Key. 6, Mr. Bowen.
Here.
7, Mr. Thompson. 8, Mr. Golden.
Here.
9, Ms. Dunn. 10, Mr. Boswell.
Here.
11, Mr. Lewis.
Here.
12, Mr. Snipes.
Here.
13, Ms. Lemon. And 14, Mr. Grabbley.
Here.
Now we need approval of the minutes from June board meeting.
Second.
A motion and second, any discussion. All in favor, with aye?
Aye.
I said, motion carried. Okay. Now we have a report on August 24 led Apple Shepherd.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Chairman Brown, Commissioner,
And
members of the board.
Come on.
I'm here to present the projects the department is proposing to advertise for the August 2024 letting. So before we present August, here are the FY 2024 results. We have led a total of 255 projects in fiscal year 2024. This chart shows the number of projects by improvement type. The value of these 255 projects is approximately $2.6 billion through the June 2024 bid award. Of the 255 projects, 233 are GDOT let with an approximate value of $2.4 billion, and 22 are local let with an approximate value of $191 million. This chart shows the dollar amount distribution by improvement type, with maintenance, road, and bridge projects making up the bulk of those improvement types. Here are the results of the June 2024 letting. Of the 17 GDOT let contracts presented to the board, 16 were awarded and 1 did not receive any bids. Now I'm going to discuss the projects in the August 2024 letting. We have a total of 15 projects, all of them being GDOT let. The next 2 slides list these 15 projects arranged by congressional district. So as you can see with this slide, we are letting a variety of projects throughout the state to address bridge, capacity, maintenance, and safety issues. The first highlighted project will replace the existing bridges with proposed bridges over Walnut Creek. The total project length is approximately 0.8 miles long. The proposed bridges will be replaced in the same location as the existing eastbound and westbound bridges. A temporary bridge will be used in the median to maintain traffic throughout construction. The existing bridges were built in 1967, 57 years ago. And here's a ground view of those bridges to be replaced. The next project proposes to install a single-lane roundabout at the intersection of State Route 81 at New Morin Drive. The existing intersection is all stop controlled concurrently. The project is intended to reduce crash frequency and severity at the intersection. This next one is an operational improvement project that extends approximately 0.3 miles along State Route 42, which is Moreland Avenue, to State Route 154, which is Memorial Drive, to Faith Avenue, which is also McPherson Avenue. It will reconfigure the State Route 42 Moreland Avenue and I-20 interchange to directly align the exit and entrance ramps to I-20 westbound at a signalized location. The proposed realigned exit ramp would widen to include dual left turn and dual right turn lanes onto Moreland Avenue. The entrance ramp would widen to receive dual left turn lanes from northbound Moreland Avenue to the I-20 westbound ramp. Right now, it's an offset sort of deal that is kind of funky out there that you have to navigate. It's a good operational improvement. This next project proposes to install a single-lane roundabout at the intersection of State Route 16 and England Church Road, which is also High Falls Road, in the city of Jackson. The project is intended to reduce crash frequency and severity at that intersection. This next project, yes indeed, it consists of an interchange reconstruction and widening at the existing I-85, which is State Route 74 Senoia Road, which is an interchange for approximately 1.4 miles from City Lake Road to Milam Road. The project will modify the interchange to a partial clover leaf with loop ramps at the southwest and northeast quadrants. This heavy volume interchange is the primary exit for the city of Fairburn, the town of Tyrone, North Fayette County, and Peachtree City. Long time in the coming. This next project will add or replace striping along 4 off-system roads located in Dalton, Georgia. The goal of the project is to increase striping visibility for all the users of the system. So we have 15 projects proposed for the August 2024 letting, all being GDOT let. This chart shows the distribution by improvement type. The estimate of the projects in the August 2024 letting is approximately $136 million. This chart shows the dollar amount distribution by improvement type. I now ask for your consideration for approval of the proposed projects presented for the August 2024 letting.
Mr. Chairman. Questions? Albert, have we notified those communities that we're letting that project this month?
Not yet. We're going to send out construction letters as soon as we get this thing completely ready to go. And City of Fairburn already knows it's in the August letting, but we're going to let the rest of the community know when construction activity is going to start.
Can you go back to that chart for me, please?
This one?
That's what announcement of that project. Yeah. Of the project, the actual.
Oh, the actual project?
Yeah,
that one.
Thank you. So we're gonna wait until after the letting to let them know?
Correct.
Okay.
Want to make sure we get a good bid and there are no hiccups.
Okay. Can somebody send me a design, because I want to see what it's gonna look like?
10-4, yes.
Okay.
I move to approve the proposed August letting.
Have a motion and a second, in discussion. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Albert.
Mr. Matt Markin, okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, and members of the board. I'm pleased to come before you this month to present proposed revisions to the construction work program. This month I have one revision to present to you. It's one for recommended action. It's one addition to the program. It's a bridge project in Fulton County. I brought this to you last month for review, and it comes back before you this month for your favorable consideration. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay. Ask the motion. Second. Motion of second in discussion. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board. It's great to be with you this afternoon and to provide the Commissioner's report. Let me get situated. We'll start with the state fund collections for last month, being June. $223.4 million were collected. $200 million of that was excise, about $23 million in transportation fees. Brings fiscal year to date $1.998 billion. We should just round that to two. So, maybe we'll be two when we get it all adjusted out. So the breakdown on that is $1.78 billion in excise, $238 million in those transportation fees. And so that's great news. And as Albert just reported, for looking at last month, basically finishing up the fiscal year with bidding $2.6 billion of work. And I'll come back to what we talked about this morning at Committee of the Whole in a moment. The total employment figure ending last month was 3,944 full-time staff. We hired 67 employees and had 36 separate. Again, sort of taking stock at the end of the fiscal year, which means we're about 95 employees ahead of where we were last fiscal year. So that is a trend in the right direction, and I want to make sure I'm very clear that we're not trying to grow headcount or government. We're trying to have the minimum government we need to be responsive for reactive, just like Tyler Peak showed in his District 3 update. We had got down so far on staffing, we could not respond the way we needed to. So we're building our capabilities and capacity, building our capacity first. And as you heard from Kyle Moat, we're building our capabilities to invest in training and learning opportunities for our staff. So they do such a great job. So a good data point to end up the last fiscal year being 95. I think I set a target of 100, so that's dangerously close to making a target, and I think we'll take that as a win. So good stuff there. Also taking stock last month of procurement that I talk to you about every month, but since it ends up June ended up with 99 contracts executed, valued at $22 million for engineering, geotechnical, right-of-way, all the things that it takes to deliver projects. That brought our fiscal year 24 to 2,132 contracts were created, executed, or negotiated, executed, signed, delivered. That is a lot of work. 2,132, that's an all-time high on volume, and it also totals $765 million. Again, that's what it takes to get that pipeline of projects ready to go that you become actionable on here at the board meeting. So those are great data points. Let me jump into some projects that opened up to traffic last month. We'll start in both Congressional District 7 and 10 in Barrow and Gwinnett counties, which is GDOT District 1. This project consisted of a bridge replacement and the approaches on Harbins Road, which is also Patrick Mill Road, depending on what side of the county you're on, over the Appalachia River there at the Barrow-Gwinnett County line. The contractor was C&S Contracting Company, represents a $2.9 million investment, and the bridge was completed ahead of schedule, and that is a very busy county road in Gwinnett and Barrow counties. So glad to have that one complete. We'll move over into Congressional District 8, Brooks County, GDOT District 4. A project consisted of 1 mile of construction that incorporated 2 bridges on State Route 22 over Bryce Pond Tributary and Okapilco Creek in Brooks County. Contractor was Southern Concrete Construction Company. Opened up to traffic on June 20th. Represents a $13.7 million bridge investment. So great to have that open, and that opened ahead of schedule as well. Staying in Congressional District 8, but now moving into Crisp County, again in GDOT District 4 Tifton office. A great TIA project, great TIA success, and Tyler Peak this morning talked to you about this corridor, in fact, of US 280 that goes over from Cordele to Americus. And this project was 7.73 miles of widening of US 280, which is also State Route 30. And also the dual bridge over Lake Blackshear. And so here's a great photo of the widening there on US 280 to 4-lane, ultimately to 4-lane all the way to Americus, Georgia. And again, that's on the TIA project. Tyler showed you from the lake to Americas is on the TIA program, and also there was a great leverage in that TIA program with planning to put more money into 280 to get that corridor complete. Thanks to TIA, that US 280 corridor will absolutely be completed through that area. So this contractor that did this work was Reeves Construction Company, opened on June 6, represented a $34 million investment, and it was ahead of schedule. Staying with bridges in Congressional District 10 in Jasper County, excuse me, GDOT District 2. This construction and bridge replacements on Bar Bridge Road over Murder Creek in Jasper County. That is a terrible name of a creek. I'll say that every time I see this project and other projects, but contractor was Gregory Bridge Company that did good things at Murder Creek to build this bridge, opened the traffic on June 24th of this year, represented a $2.6 million investment to replace the bridge. So let me transition away from the projects now and give you some updates of things that have been going on with the department since we were together last month. And we'll start with the GDOT Transportation Day at Southwest DeKalb High School. That's sort of a new thing. We hadn't had many transportation days at high schools, and this is pretty cool. So at the end of the school year, just before school got out this summer, Southwest DeKalb High School hosted GDOT Transportation Day for its students. This really happened as a result of a connection through Michael Nash, who works in our Office of Program Delivery, from his wife, actually reached out, who's an educator at the school. So I really appreciate her reaching out and actually ran into me somewhere and said, hey, I teach physics. You know, it'd be great if you guys could interface. And all I did was say, go, and then our team all figured out how to put together this GDOT Day. So it featured the GDOT Day at Southwest DeKalb High School did three things. We had Physics Day. We had a safe driving talk based on the safe driving summits many of you have participated in, not a summit, just a talk, and a career fair at the end. Why not get people excited and see if we can't recruit them, right? Got to start early on the recruitment process, plant that seed so that somebody says, hey, I can have a career in transportation. So let me tell you a little bit about the Physics Day part of that. Weren't y'all all excited about physics when you were in high school?
No.
I didn't do too good, but I was excited about it. All right. GDOT had the opportunity to really talk about what we do in transportation and then highlight physics, how physics relates to what we do in our offices. Had 50 students, which is amazing. 50 students participated from the engineering and physics classes, and they got to be a GDOT engineer for the day. So we let them build bridge models. And also they learned how to calculate super elevation. So super elevation is the banking on the road. So, you know, think NASCAR, big bank turns. We don't have big bank turns like NASCAR because people would try to go 200 miles an hour. So, but we do calculate the super elevation. They got to do bridge models and then figure out based on the speeds and the curves what kind of banking you need in the road. So physics, it's all based on physics. So that's really neat. Also, 250 high school seniors attended the Safe Driving Talk, where Sam Harris, all of you know Sam and have seen Sam present here and being at Safe Driving Summits, where Sam basically talked through the statistics of where the students, you know, what happens with students and crashes and people their age, and then introduced Katina Lear, of course, from the Office of Strategic Communications. If you remember, Katina gave us the update on what we're doing with educators, with We Are Teachers. And they introduced, Katina introduced a new safety driving advocate that we've come across by the name of Molly Welch. And Molly's story is similar to J.C. Thomas's, who you've seen on videos or witnessed in person. And so it was really great to have Molly there, who was involved in a car crash and survived. She now runs a nonprofit organization called A Second Later, which is dedicated to spreading the message of dangers of distracted driving. And she lost control, basically dropped something, went to pick it up, lost control, crossed the center line, and was in a tragic car accident. Obviously survived, but that's what her nonprofit does. So good to have another safety advocate that's not GDOT, that's telling these stories to students that make a real impact. And then again, after we had all of that, we did have a career fair where we had the opportunity to meet with GDOT recruiters, subject matter experts to talk about our job opportunities. In addition to chatting about those, we had a hero truck, so you got to get in a hero truck, see all the things that are in a hero truck. And also, this was really exciting thing was you got to fly a drone in through virtual reality. So if you ever put the virtual reality goggles on, so it's things that students really love. So again, we got to start early, in that recruitment process. So anyway, a great day, a great success. We certainly appreciate Chakia Nash, who's Michael's wife, that said, hey, we can do something here, and made it happen. So certainly appreciate all our staff, HR, our recruiters, Sam and the safety team, Katina and Strategic Communications, all for making a great day, and especially Nicole Glenn, our recruiter, and you heard from Kyle Moat earlier too, that worked on getting all this done. So thanks to them. Now, Tuesday was National Rural Transit Day. It's a day dedicated to recognizing rural transit and providing the highlights and the initiatives that agencies like us take to honor passengers and staff as part of Rural Transit Day and throughout the entire year. National Rural Transit Day is not only allows us the opportunity to recognize our accomplishments, but also provides us with a glance at what still needs to be done to offer reliable and safe transit options for all Georgians across the entire state. GDOT recognized today by participating on X, which is used to be known as Twitter. We did chat, posting a blog, and did an Ahead of the Curve podcast, of which many of you participated on. So go listen to that podcast about the things we're doing. It'll be released a little bit later this month, but you'll hear about what we're doing for rural transit. As a reminder, in 2021, we launched the Let's Ride website and the mobile app, which connects riders from their participating local rural transit service providers and enables them to schedule trips locally. So really trying to get that one-stop shop of here's an easy app to schedule a rural transit trip. So again, we're doing numerous things to support rural transit beside the federal 5311 rural transit program we administer. In Georgia, we've put $46.8 million has been distributed to transit providers. This is a great number. 1,118,000,000 rural transit trips have been taken during the fiscal year. So over 1 million rural transit trips across Georgia. And then 11 million rural transit miles, 11.5 million rural transit miles traversed. So the 1.1 million trips turned into 11.5 million miles. I have to do that math to figure out what the average trip is, but you can see it's a longer trip. Currently, DOT is creating a transit development plans for each of our regions across the state, and 2 of those transit development plans are complete for Georgia Mountains Regional Commission and the Southwest Georgia Regional Commission as well. So our team does a lot of great work in advancing rural transit and trying to get transit options for all 159 counties. So we still have a little work to do. All right, let me move into a little bit of federal funding conversation. On your table should be a list of some FY24 RAISE grant awards that USDOT just announced. RAISE stands for Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. It was authorized as part of the IIJA, or the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. It is a discretionary grant program, so you do have to apply to compete to be selected. And in total, Georgia was awarded 7 grants, many of which we supported by letter and to conversation to USDOT. And so we listed those in front of you there just for your information. There's a little deeper dive information on each of those projects, one in Augusta, Richmond County. If you look at that, some of them are planning and some of them are capital. Most of them are planning, and I believe there was 2 that was capital. And so Augusta, Richmond County for reimagining the Broad Street Transfer Facility. City of Decatur for reconnecting Scott Boulevard Complete Street Plan. That's Meg Perkle's way to work every day, so she likes that one. I'm getting Meg back for this morning. So City of Atlanta, Westside Park Multimodal Access, City of Fairburn Warehousing and Distribution Center Community Safety Improvements. Just as Dana was talking about that 74 interchange there, City of Fairburn's got a lot of warehouse distribution. Camden County Joint Comprehensive Transportation Plan, City of Lafayette, Villanelle Street Revitalization, City of Dublin, Connected Dublin Multimodal and Streetscape. So these are great, payment, this is great investment that will advance projects that will work on these, work with these local governments, on delivering some of these projects. All right, next. You heard Janine Miller this morning provide you an update with the great work they're doing over at the State Road and Tollway Authority with the express lanes, and many of those express lanes come about through public-private partnerships. And so this week, in fact, concluding today, we had many people from GDOT attending the American Road and Transportation Builders Association Public-Private Partnership Transportation Conference. Again, it's really the industry leaders and public officials and the private sector that come together for about 2 days and work on the issues at hand at a national level regarding P3s. And so we were honored to be there. I was able to attend yesterday. And State of Virginia commissioner was there. Tennessee DOT commissioner was there. They had representatives from North Carolina, Ohio. Ohio has a little bridge project called the Brent Spence Bridge right at Cincinnati, if you've ever been across it. Multi-billion-dollar project they're working on. Let's see, we had Illinois there. Illinois has had, just got some design bill legislation, so they're sort of trying to figure out design bill. And North Carolina, if I said North Carolina twice, I apologize. But so we had a great group of states that are working on P3s, and when you think about that, we obviously sometimes forget that we've been in the P3 space for a very long time in Georgia. A lot of states, just like Illinois, are just now getting the legal sufficiency or having legislation that allows them to do public-private partnerships. So sometimes we take for granted what we have. So we've been at this for a long time, and it's certainly a good way to advance projects. So we had P3 Division Director Haral Patel there, and she focused on a panel this morning on multimodal projects. Again, one of our desires out of the express lanes that we do are to make them multimodal, to make sure that there's a transit benefit and new transit opportunities that exist in those express lanes. So she was on that panel. This morning, also, Deputy Chief Mark Masternardi was on the closing panel town hall session to wrap it up with North Carolina and Virginia, I believe, was on the other panelist people. I was able to speak at lunch yesterday and talk about what we're doing in Georgia. So it's really nice to be considered among your peers as Georgia DOT to share information. And we actually started on Tuesday afternoon with a owners roundtable hosted by Georgia DOT's Daryl Van Meter, where the owners, being state DOTs, come together and we sit down and brainstorm with each other and do R&D. That's rip off and duplicate. So we're not hesitant to steal anybody's good idea that they have, and we will absolutely steal it and use it. So, and that's what we want to happen back and forth. So quite an honor to be at that event yesterday and today. Now, Tyler Peak this morning, I think he said we were excited about a bridge strike. I may have misunderstood what he said. Bridge strikes are bad. Let me just make sure everybody's clear on that. They did a great job. I think what his excitement was, as it should have been, is how District 3 responded to all those bridge strikes they had. And I know, Tyler, one of those, the governor was behind it, and he called me about it. He wasn't excited when he called, but your response was fantastic, and your district team was fantastic. But these happen more and more, unfortunately. And I wanted to update you of one that just happened last week, and down in the 1st Congressional District on I-16, and between Savannah and I-95, to get your bearings, is where this is, westbound, meaning you're leaving Savannah, headed toward Macon. Around 3:30 on July 11th, we were notified that a truck carrying an excavator that was not, the excavator's arm wasn't properly lowered, hit the Chatham Parkway Bridge overpass on I-16. As you can see there, you can see the excavator in the picture on the bottom left where it sort of ended up. You notice it's not on a truck at that point. It ripped it right off the truck. So obviously we had to close I-16 to be able to make sure it was safe. In fact, there was 3 beams severely damaged to the point that they had to be removed. And so it was immediate action again, and it's always amazing to see how responsive our teams are and how do we respond in times of emergency. And basically, we're able to do emergency contract, working through C.W. Matthews and D.H. Griffin, who is an expert demolition contractor, the same people that did demo work on the I-85 bridge and on a couple other bridges we've had that have specialized material, equipment that can really remove beams very quickly. And so, again, that was July 11th, and by July 13th, somewhere midday, about afternoon, all the lanes for I-16 were back open. The unfortunate part is Chatham Parkway over I-16 is 5 lanes, 2 lanes each direction with center turn lane. We only have it open for basically 2 lanes at this point because we had to take out the beams that were hit, and there was actually one beam in the very middle where the excavator hit the first beams and then bounced and hit a beam that's dead center of that bridge. So we're working on the replacement plans. There will be more to come, and we'll keep you abreast of what that is to the timeline to repair. We know this is a very busy location, for sure, a lot of commercial activity around this area. But again, the District 5 team, our bridge design team, our construction liaisons, total team effort. Brad Saxon, as Deputy Commissioner, was on site late that day and early the next morning. And then again, quick work there. And of course, it takes communications, right? And a great job, as always, by our communications team using social media and TV and getting the word out. Anyway, when I-16 was back up and running, Governor Kemp posted a video on X, the first vehicle traveling under I-16s after they were able to get the work completed. And so always an important thing. Again, I have to commend our counterparts at North Carolina DOT and South Carolina DOT. The contractor that had the specialty equipment was up in Greensboro, North Carolina. They have to have a special permit to haul big equipment on the interstate, oversized, overweight, and especially at night, which is not usually allowed. So we were able to make contact with them and got green lighted such that we called them one day, they were there the next morning, ready to go to work. And so again, it takes some relationships to make things like that happen. And so really good to see a good outcome here. A lot quicker than we first advertised. We thought we might be able to open hopefully by Monday morning, and we made Saturday midday or so. So again, getting it back open. So bridges are very important, right? We understand the criticality when something like this happens, what it means and what it means to the economy if a bridge is out. And so let me get to a report card. Who enjoyed report cards as a kid? We'll find out who the high achievers are. I did not personally. It wasn't a good time for me at my house. And that may be the story that I'm going to tell you about now. The American Society of Civil Engineers issued their 2024 infrastructure report card for Georgia. They do this nationally, and then they do it for each state. ASCE is the country's oldest national engineering organization, representing 160,000 civil engineers in private practice, government, industry, and academia, who's all about advancing the science and the profession of civil engineering. As you remember, they just had their international conference last month here in Atlanta. So every 5 years is where they look at each state and see how things are going. So in 2024, the group gave the state of Georgia an overall grade of a C+. Y'all, that's the same reaction my parents said when I said I got a C+. Well, let's take stock of what that means. And this was my strategy as a high schooler was, well, you know, we're higher than the average, being a C-. So we're 2 steps higher than the national average. Again, the same reaction I got from my parents. So we've got work to do. In fact, there's 14 infrastructure categories, though, that were considered, including the things we are responsible for, bridges and roads, but also transit, just to name a few, plus, you know, infrastructure, water, things, other types of infrastructure like water, wastewater, things like that, power. So let me just tell you a little bit about the details. So in the bridge category, Georgia improved from a C+ to a B. Now we're HOPE eligible. So that's a good thing. That would have been a better conversation, okay? So in 2022, 98% of Georgia's bridges rated in fair or good condition, better than the 93% in 2017. Now, they use a little bit of older data because the data sets has to come in, right? So anyway, that's much improved. The national average for bridges considered to be in poor condition is 7%. So nationally, bridges in poor condition, 7%. Georgia, 1.3%. So you see all these bridge projects we're doing, a lot of those are local bridge projects. It's helping to improve our score. And of course, a bridge is important everywhere you look. Doesn't matter if it's on a rural route or the interstate, it's very important. In the roads category, we received a C+. Again, up from the national grade of a D. Man, I'm not getting an allowance. It doesn't look like. So, okay, so, so we got a C+. In fact, we're tied with the highest grade. This is the highest grade in the nation. We're tied with Utah. So, Utah is a very different state. I won't make any disparaging remarks against them. I'm great friends with the Utah DOT commissioner out there. The report card also states that 67% of Georgia's interstate roads are in good condition, 7% higher than it was the last report. So we're improving conditions, which is good. And the state's also ranked sixth best in best state overall for road conditions. Overall, we're ranked sixth best. So there's a lot to be proud of here, but especially, as you can see, we've got a lot of work to continue to do because we all do want an A, right? I mean, we really need to be a solid B student, and hopefully we can be an A and let it average out on some things. But it takes investment, and as Georgia's population is growing, we've got to continue to improve to meet those demands. And one of the takeaways, and I'm going to read this verbatim out of the report, was that increased funding and coordination of intermodal freight projects. It said additional state funding would develop projects in Georgia's statewide freight and logistics plan more quickly to capitalize on increased goods movement, coordinate with regional and local communities where freight movements create benefits and burdens for nearby stakeholders. And so with the previous presentation of the Committee of the Whole, with this new freight program, that part of the $1.5 billion, in fact, the $500 million to this new freight program, will address the very outcome that ASC acknowledged, is we need to continue to invest more in our freight, freight corridors and to make freight flow in Georgia. So the timing of this report was very timely to see that linkage of ASCE, and again, independent. All they do is take our data and they do these independent reviews and see that we need to continue to invest, and hence $500 million making the first investment in the new freight program. So we're glad to have that. And let me just conclude with, again, the appreciation of the $1.5 billion in the amended 24 budget that was presented to you today. First, starting with Governor Kemp and his leadership and investment in transportation for booming and growing Georgia. Yesterday, when I was in D.C. telling these other states and these people at the P3 conference, I said, I've got a technical term for Georgia, we're booming. And let's break it down into growth rates that we have. So the $1.5 billion, the governor recognizing that in the budget, Speaker Burns, Lieutenant Governor Jones, for them and their leadership, Senator Tillery as the chair of Appropriations in the Senate, Representative Chairman Matt Hatchett for the House Appropriations, and then our two Transportation Committee chairs, Rick Jasper in the House, Greg Dolezal in the Senate, for them understanding the importance of making this investment of $1.5 billion additional to our budget and how critical that is. And you can see out of the roughly a little over $1 billion that go to freight and the capital construction program, it was 42 projects. That's amazing. But a little over $1 billion just advances 42 projects. Each of you can name on your hand, both hands and probably fingers and toes, other things that need to be on the list. And so but I don't want to miss the importance of this investment and what it will do, as I said, advance projects by a total of 43 years. You know, so that's amazing. Just think what the cost of inflation will do if we wait it. That project in Macon, Tyler showed you that need to do that last phase of the project in Macon, Georgia, that we knew would take a decade. But that project was sitting in fiscal year 2028. So just think how much more that would cost, and I'm not sure that anybody wants to wait, you know, basically 3 more fiscal years to get started on it. And so now we're going to be able to bring that one in by 2 years. And so speeding these projects up, making the improvements is just a blessing. We're very appreciative, again, I can't say enough, of the full support of each of you, especially the governor, for recognizing that money in the budget, and the House and the Senate for appropriating the money with some guardrails on it too that we think were very wise. So we're glad to get underway, and bear with us. It takes a minute. I will pick on my neighbors to Tennessee. They got some general fund money added to their budget. It took them a year to come up with their project list. So we did it a little bit quicker. So, but we wanted to be strategic in that. And again, compliments to Janine Miller and the planning team, and working very closely with Albert and his team in program delivery of things that we can move as fast as possible and have the biggest impact as possible, as quickly as possible. So thank you for that. As I said this morning in committee of the whole, we are glad to help you in any kind of way. If you want to do a press release, an event, go out and meet with local governments and talk about these projects and what this means, we are glad to oblige and do that. So anything you need, just reach out and we'll help support that. So we're very excited about that. And Mr. Chairman, I'll end on a high note and entertain any questions or comments.
Thank you. Jeff?
Thank you. Thank you, Russell, for that report. That's incredible news. I want to go back to that report card and that you mentioned. No, well, I had a chance to do this 3 times over the years. But the American Society of Civil Engineers, help me understand the consequence, either positive, negative, or both, of this report and the subsequent grade that we got. Who's looking at this and making decisions or determinations based on this report card?
Well, thanks for that good question. We really like this report card because it's truly independent. It doesn't have our fingerprints on it or what we think. It's ASCE assembles the subject matter experts in each of the categories. If it's like water, wastewater, dams are one of the categories, aviation, obviously bridges and roads. They assemble people that are experts in those fields, and they use that. And their real emphasis is to be sort of a neutral third party that informs the nation of how the nation's doing, because they are actually an international society now. But that's what they're trying to do, is, again, put this out to policymakers and give people an unbiased view of the conditions that exist state to state in the nation. So we encourage you to share that. It'll be something we share with our transportation committees in House and Senate, and something you can share. You can simply Google it. It's a nice PDF. It's a pretty easy read. And so easy to get to. They've got a lot of infographics you can get to very quickly to do a summary, or you can read the full report. But that's exactly the intent of that, is for policymakers to think about what it is we need to do and where do we stand as a nation. Now, of course, I selfishly compare ourselves to other states, to peer states, right? But because it's all relative back to my report card days in high school. But we know as a nation, we see that there needs to be continued investment. I was telling somebody the other day, our interstates are just about ready for Social Security.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for that answer. I guess I'm wondering, might you have an example of some organization or entity that makes some kind of decision based on this regarding the state of Georgia, whether it's economic development related decisions or what?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I tracked your question. Again, it's information, and again,
Okay.
we love the third party. It's a validation of what we're doing, and if we're heading in the right direction or not, and it's an outside look. But share it with your House and Senate members, and obviously our transportation committees are very important to them to think about that. And I think that's what it takes. It's at the state level and congressional level as well. I mean, this is looked at at the congressional level. So. And again, it's a good barometer because it's a neutral third party. Every state gets a look, you know. Thank you. Mhm.
And,
Am I getting my allowance?
and,
Commissioner, I wanted to go back to the information that you provided us for the ARPA, which was our American Road and Transportation Builder Association Conference, of which you just attended this week. And I just wanted to bring out to this board that this was a public-private partnership, our P3, that we're so strongly involved in and has been initiated here in our state of Georgia. And wanted to just say that, you know, through our GDOT organization and what has been done, you were able to bring information to them to showcase what we have gone forward in the progress that we have been making in our state. And from that point, I want to say, from our Department of Transportation and implementing what we have done in the P3 throughout the state of Georgia, information that you were able to share at this meeting and previous to this meeting, that there was an award given out. And I am so excited about this award because of the fact that it was given to an individual who has made an outstanding contribution to, because of the application that you have given to all of the other states. This award was given to our commissioner, and it's entitled Transportation Trailblazer of the Year, awarded to our commissioner and to the Georgia Department of Transportation for what we are doing with P3. And I think that deserves a real strong applause for our commissioner as well as our department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that. And the last part of that, what you said, is the most important part of that, and Georgia DOT, because it's, you know, it's the men and women of Georgia DOT and that make all this happen. So, you know, I'm not sure about Trailblazer, maybe, but again, it's them that the recognition goes to. So thank you for that acknowledgement, and it was an honor to accept on behalf of our team, our P3 division, Daryl Van Meter, who's been the steady force in design build when, like I say, we've been doing design build for 20 plus years. In fact, I think we started with the Kia plant when it was built, is one of our first design build projects. Other states don't even have the capability to do design build. We've been doing it for that long or more. And so we sort of take for granted what we've done, and we're always glad to share, and, you know, but the recognition goes to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
are there any more comments or questions?
All right.
Okay, Jamie.
I think I read somewhere that you were named Person of the Year just recently.
Fake news, I think. It might have been fake news.
But you were there along with some legislators, and I mean it's a great honor.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the publication it was in, and now I apologize for that. But it was that is a great thing for the state of Georgia and for you and for us.
Well, appreciate that acknowledgement again. Team effort starting right here with you guys. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.